Take two, New York Giants football talk. Kenny K here with my good friend Paul Rosen. Got Knicks basketball, Paul, but we're coming on. We're going to do a show. We're going to try and get the show over in about an hour, and we'll be able to watch game one, most of our Knicks versus Celtics tonight. So how you doing otherwise, Paul?
Good. I'm doing great. Glad to be on for another wonderful Giants show. And tonight I'm wearing another retired jersey, New York Giants jersey, Michael Strahan, that Abdul Carter will not be wearing.
Yeah, the jokes are going around with him, but the kid's pretty humble. I think the media's blown it up. It's New York in the
Yeah.
with the Phil Simms issue. Phil Simms, he didn't even ask for 11 apparently, and it was just it might be more of Jackson Dart. I was told, maybe wearing number 11 type of thing. But anyway, enough said about that. Tonight we got a fun Giants show for everybody. We got a couple good topics. Draft is over, but we're going to do a little all-time draft list. We got some random quick hitters, and we got some free agency talk as well. And our backstage producer Graham is saying hello on
Hey,
Wednesday to
Graham.
K&K
Good
Sports
evening.
Show. Best Giants talk on the planet. Thank you, my friend.
Thank
Graham
you.
does an excellent job writing for the Colorado Avalanche. Unfortunately, they lost the other day. So go check out Mile High Sticking with Graham. He does an excellent job over there. Uh, and he's joking around saying technical difficulties. Whoops. And he wants to know if we got permission to wear. Did you get permission to wear that jersey, Paul?
I specifically contacted Michael.
There you go. But yeah, let's get it started, Paul. Do K and K style and some quick hitters to start the show off.
All right. And if those of you who have watched our shows over the years, we sometimes do a segment called Would You Rather? And I have three Would You Rather questions for Mr. Kenny K. So, my first Would You Rather question to you, sir, is would you rather have traded the first pick and probably gave up your second pick and taken Cam Ward, or would you have rather kept the third pick, taken Abdul Carter, and then traded back up and traded for Jackson Dart, like the Giants did?
Oh, 100% the way the Giants did. I praise defense, preach defense my whole life, my coaching throughout playing career. Defense is what wins championships. We, in my opinion, on paper, got the best defensive player all around. This guy's going to be a monster from day one, and we're going to go from there. So that's an easy one, Paul. After you go and answer, Paul, I want to get to some comments and some questions that we're
Okay.
going to put in the queue for when you're done with your quick hitters. I'll answer those questions. We'll answer
I
those
know
questions, I
I
should
know
say.
you were high on your guy Cam Ward, obviously from the U, had a great year, but all things considered, Abdul Carter was my guy. So very, very glad. And of course, as you know, Jackson Dart was also my guy. So the fact that we got both of them after the trade up, I couldn't have been happier.
Yep.
So I
Let's get
have total
some
agreement.
let's get some hellos in. Two of our fellow Giant fans, Jimmy Eiserman and Mark Calderio, both saying hello.
Gentlemen, good evening.
What's up, guys? And Jay Cook, Steeler fan, saying, "What's up, gentlemen? Good evening." Jay's a good
Hey,
friend of mine.
Jay.
Jay, what'd you think about your draft? You didn't go reach for Shador Sanders. Are you happy you didn't get Shador Sanders? I'd like to know in the chat. And Jimmy's got a question. We'll get to it after your couple quick hitters. So
Okay.
good one.
Second question. Other than Ashton Genty, would you rather have for the Giants Cam, uh, uh, s- uh, s- God, I'm having trouble pronouncing his last name tonight.
Scatterboo,
Scatterboo. I don't know why I'm having trouble tonight. Scatterboo as our running back, or any other running back that we could have drafted, of course, besides Ashton Genty.
for what the Giants needed on draft day. I would have said I like the Iowa running back, Caleb Johnson. But
Right.
going back and watching it now, Scadaboo is the perfect fit for the Giants. He's just
I
the
agree.
opposite of Tyrone Tracy. And if you watch the Giants back in the day, they had Ahmad Bradshaw and Mr. Brandon Jacobs. And does that not make it like a poor man's version of that? Sign me
Hmm.
up every day. So I'll take Scadaboo in the Would You Rather.
I totally agree. And of course, he was my guy as well. So 3 for 3 with that. My last would you rather question. Speaking of, you asked Jay Cook about his draft. Would you rather have the New York Giants 2025 draft, or would you rather have any other team's draft in the NFL?
I for what we needed, I can't take any other team. I look at Jacksonville. Yeah, they got Hunter. But and they got But I look at the Patriots. They got a lineman and a running back. I look at the Cardinals. They loaded up on defense. But for what the Giants needed, these are all players I like. And if you go back and you look at the third round pick, we are going to fall in love with Darius Alexander. Watch
Hmm.
his tape on YouTube. He is just
Yeah.
going to complement, make Dexter Lawrence that much better in the middle. And by the way, Jay's not happy with the Steelers draft. So,
Oh, okay.
and so yeah, I'm going to take this draft, over any other team. The Giants draft over any other team.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I know other teams. I mean, the Eagles did it again. Howie Roseman's a magician. But for what we received in the draft, I wouldn't trade it for anything. You have arguably the best player in the draft. You have arguably the second best quarterback. Obviously, that remains to be seen. But the other pieces that the Giants were able to fit in were fantastic. I just want to say one thing to Jay. I know that first round pick, his mom literally passed away the night of the draft, and he did have an opportunity to tell her that that he was drafted by the Steelers, and then unfortunately she had been sick and passed away. So my condolences to Jay and the Pittsburgh Steelers and your first round pick.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, Jay. Condolences to the Steelers. Young man losing his mom, but he, got to be a heartfelt moment. Got to tell her that he got drafted. Let's get to some comments, Paul. Uh,
Okay.
Jimmy likes the Scatterboo for sure, bringing back the Thunder and Lightning. Uh, Graham saying Brandon Jacobs was a beast, uh, like a former Bronco, and I think Giant Ruben Drones. I think he won a Super Bowl with you in 2007.
Yes, he did.
Jimmy
Uh,
loves the draft. He's saying he got everything we needed, took care of all the needs, and based on needs, one of the best drafts he's ever seen.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree, Jimmy.
Yep.
All right.
Let's get Jimmy's question. It's a
Yeah.
comment with the "What's up, boys? How about that Giant draft? Finally got a solid draft, but it's not really a question. But why don't you tell him the story about the draft of Paul? We'll give you a couple minutes, Paul, to tell that story.
Which story was that?
The draft of Paul, the Seinfeld story. How you nailed every
Oh, oh,
pick.
oh, 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 thank you. So, a couple minutes, Reader's Digest version. I had been on Abdul Carter for a number of months. I wanted this guy. I mean, he literally played a great game against Notre Dame in the playoffs with essentially one shoulder. Um, and he was all over the field. And I just felt, I know as much as Kenny wanted Travis Hunter, and believe me, if that had been our alternative pick, you wouldn't hear me crying. But I loved Carter, regardless of what we had with Brian Burns and Kayvon. I said, hey, as Kenny said earlier, the more the merrier. You can never have enough pass rushes, as we've seen in the Giants' last two Super Bowl runs. Jackson Dart, as Kenny knows, I've been on him since our college football preview back last August. I felt in the SEC, as we've constantly said, the toughest uh, college football conference in college football. He proved it, got better year after year, and I felt if we're going to take a guy, let's take him. Uh, Cam Scatterboo. again, if anyone watched that Texas playoff game against Arizona State, the guy was incredible. He ran, he received, he threw a touchdown pass, he puked on the sidelines and came back. I mean, the guy is just an unbelievable football player, motivated, big heart. Uh, I mean, the story is he was 6 years old and he dressed up in his football uniform and ran into telephone poles. How do you not like a guy like that? And I think Giant fans are gonna take this guy and just love him. And the last pick, Kenny and the Denver Bronco Roundup guys were doing their wonderful, fantastic weekend coverage of the every day of the NFL draft. And after the Giants picked Scatterboo, about 15 picks before the fifth round, I texted Kenny and I said, if Marcus Bowe is still on the field, is still has not been selected, let's take him. I think he could be a really good selection. And sure enough, they call his name a few picks after that. So maybe it was fortuitous. It was lucky. Even a broken clock, I say, is right twice a day. But great draft.
Yeah. And Jimmy's just saying he loves Dart, but he feels he didn't need to trade up for him though. But Jimmy, I don't know. Like they must have been afraid of this of the Browns. I
Yeah,
really think they were afraid of the Browns as getting ahead of them to take the guy. And if this was Brian Dable's guy, this was the spot to take him. And that they got a trade partner, and they didn't give up anything, any future first round picks. They gave up a third round pick, so I'm okay with it, especially if he becomes our franchise quarterback, and becomes the
yeah.
guy to lead our team. I will not look back and say we didn't need to trade up for him. So let's look at it that way. We didn't give up a first round pick. What Graham's saying, did he catch bricks with his bare hands? I know he ran into telephone poles, Scatterboo, as a kid. I don't know about the brick. I don't know if he caught bricks.
I don't know. I haven't heard that story, but it wouldn't shock me, would it?
Paul's saying, Jimmy's saying, awesome story. Tell the mega numbers this week, Paul, the mega ball numbers, and make
Yeah,
everybody
right. I
millionaires.
know.
And Jimmy's saying he's agreeing with me. The trade didn't hurt us at all. So, yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, excellent draft. We just to recap. We're gonna do a little fun thing later with all-time draft picks, and maybe we can compare this year's, this and last year's draft classes with Joe Shane. Could these players actually become the best draft pick of all time at that round? So we'll do that in a little bit, but
Let me
you know,
just say one more thing, Kenny.
yeah,
The rookie mini camp is this weekend, Friday and Saturday. So it should be interesting to get some up close and personal
yeah.
comments from all these guys.
Yep. And Jerry Rice did it. That's why Graham brought it up. Jerry Rice did that.
Oh, okay. That's true.
Interesting.
I remember
Interesting.
that.
Yep. So yeah, we've got the Knicks starting with the Celtics. So we're gonna, if we get done a little before an hour tonight, we may go off a little early. So looking at the time now, we're like right on schedule. So I'm gonna pass it back to Paul. He's got another good segment for the Giant fans out there, and Graham, just an NFL fan in general.
Okay.
Graham could
So,
play as a Bronco fan, and Jay could play as a Steeler fan if they want, Paul.
yeah, absolutely. Of course, the Giants filled some tremendous needs in regular free agency. They signed a couple of defensive backs that'll really shore up the back end of the defense. And obviously, with the players they drafted, conceivably, if everyone remains healthy, we could have a really top 10 defense in this year. But there are still some remaining free agencies still around, players. And I came up with a list of about 8 of them. And like Kenny said, Graham could do Denver, uh, Jay can do uh,
Steelers.
Pittsburgh. I'll give you the name, Kenny, and the position. You tell me you think it's a yes or a no. The Giants should consider some of these guys. Okay.
Yeah.
My first player is a Amari Cooper, wide receiver, uh, played with Buffalo last year a little bit. So should the Giants, with their wide receiver units, they brought back Darius Slayton, of course. Should they consider him? Yes or no?
Consider him, yes. It would not be my top priority, Amari Cooper. Uh, I do like what we get from Slayton, but Amari Cooper, I don't know where he would fit. I don't know where the fit would be with the type of receivers we have. I don't know
Hmm.
where he would fit. But hey, if he gels with if Russell Wilson, you talk to Russell Wilson, he says, "Yeah, get me Amari Cooper." You go get Amari Cooper. But
Yeah.
I would be okay with it. I wouldn't not be against it at all. Real quick, Jimmy was just saying about Darius Alexander. I don't want to lose this comment. Going to be someone to watch. Love his talent. Yes,
Yep. We both
absolutely.
agree. Asante Samuel Jr. Obviously, they signed Paulson Adebo, but hey, you never have enough cornerbacks. Yes or no?
Again, yeah, I would say yes. You got Paulson and debut. Banks is going to probably hopefully have a big bounce back year. You still got Trey Hawkins on the roster, but
Hmm.
to bring in another vet. Oh, no, let's not forget, of course, Drew Phillips. But the one guy I don't like, so I would bring him in to fight with him for a roster spot is Cordell Flott. I've had enough of Cordell Flott. You know,
I was
I'm
waiting
glad
for that. I know how
Adebu.
you
I'm
feel
glad we
about him.
picked up Paulson Adebu and Drew Phillips. Don't take away time from him because he could be a star in the making. I like what I see out of Drew Phillips a lot.
Okay, good. Yeah. All right. I threw this name on. If Jay Cook is listening, Aaron Rodgers.
No, no. We're good at the quarterback. You don't want to bring Aaron Rodgers in to mess up this quarterback room. Russell Wilson will be the starter day one. Jameis Winston could be a nice little mentor type piece for Jackson Dart. Been in the league a long time, got a great personality. I think the quarterback room for Jackson Dart to learn is set. So I would not go anywhere. And Jimmy's saying hell no, and I would say heck no in kinder words, but with not going a little further up the alphabet. No.
Okay. Next one is interesting. So Darius Smith. He was with the Lions for a little bit last year. Edge rusher has been pretty successful in the NFL. Obviously, we brought in Abdul Carter, Chauncey Golston from the Cowboys. We signed as a free agent, and obviously we have Brian Burns and Kayvon.
I like the players of Darius Smith, but I think we got in what we want. Young edge rushers. Golston is a nice piece. Hey, if you have an injury and Zedarius is sitting there week early in the season and you want to pick him up, that's fine. But I don't think we need him right now. So I'm going to say no. I don't want him to take away time from any of the younger guys.
Okay. Another cornerback, Stephon Gilmore, veteran. May not be the guy from a couple of years ago, but another veteran that could possibly help. Yes or no?
I like that one over Samuel a little bit more. More experience. Uh, can teach the younger guys some stuff. Be a leader in the secondary room for
Hmm.
sure. I like that one a little
Okay.
more than Samuel.
Okay. Sounds good. Our Giants offensive line always needs shoring up. Brandon Sheriff, veteran with Jacksonville, obviously started his career with Washington. He's still out there.
I like him. I like him. I would do it and push John Michael Schmitz a little bit because
Hmm.
I'm not totally against Schmidt, but he needs to step it up a little bit this year. And if you bring in a
Okay.
veteran to push him, that might be the key. What Jimmy was saying, four good edge rushers already. We're good. Maybe a linebacker for depth. You got any linebackers on that list, Paul? I
I
have.
unfortunately don't.
All right, I'll throw a couple at you since Jimmy just brought it up.
Okay.
C.J. Mosley or Eric Kendricks or neither.
I like CJ Mosley. I thought he was pretty good with the Jets the last couple of years. And Was obviously very good with Baltimore. I would definitely consider signing him. Absolutely.
I would do either one. I would go like you just said, Mosley first or Eric Kendricks. McFadden's had some injury history, has an injury history. And, you're going to get 17 games out of him, and then you got
Hmm.
our sixth round pick. Nice pickup last year, Darius Musal. But is he the guy that can play if McFadden's out for a long period of time, or if, I
Right.
mean, oh, God forbid we lose a Karake? But I would bring in an Eric Kendricks or C.J. Mosley, but the first would be my first choice, and then Kendricks as well. Jimmy likes Mosley as well.
Yeah, and he's a leader. He's always been one of those guys, veteran rookies could
Yeah.
go to, and he's a pretty good leader type. So that would be another positive.
Good, good point, Jimmy. Kenricks is injury prone, and our friend Clayton saying hello. Hey
Hey,
guys, what's up,
Clayton.
Clayton? Smash that like button, guys. He always reminds you all, hit that like button. Thank you, Clayton. But yeah, back to you, Paul.
Okay, just two more. Another receiver, veteran receiver, was with the uh, Bears. Keenan Allen, obviously great history with the Chargers, but perhaps have slowed down a little bit. But another veteran that could perhaps help the young receivers in the Giants receiver room.
I had a feeling you had him on the list, and I tried didn't read it when you were talking about Amari Cooper. Jimmy said Keenan Allen, so I was just
Mm,
waiting for it. 100%. This is the guy I want. He's one of my favorite wide receivers in the NFL. When he was with the Chargers, uh, and then even with the Bears, the guy is just you know still catching 70, 80 balls a year, and
hmm
he you got to watch with him. I wouldn't play him every down. I don't. He's 34 years old now, or 33 or 34 years old. But and again, you bring a veteran like that in with Malik Neighbors and Wandale Robinson, could be a little mentor piece there for Wandale Robinson. Uh, can develop into a top slot receiver in the league. But get me Keenan Allen, yes, yes, yes. And
Love it.
Jimmy's saying, great piece to add, excellent on third downs, and can still play.
hmm And my last guy I put on the list, um, given the fact that we now added running back depth, but I just put Nick Chubb. Yes or no?
If we didn't get Scatterboo, that's the guy I would have wanted on the Giants. I'm pushing for him for the Broncos. I think he'd be a great fit for the Broncos. Incentive friendly deal for the Bronco fans listening out there.
Hmm
You give him, if he can play double digit games, you give him a bonus. If he can get double digit touchdowns, he gets a bonus. Give him an incentive friendly deal and get Nick Chubb, Denver, and with your young running back core, Estime can learn from Nick Chubb. That'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Well, that was my list. Great job. And
Yeah.
moving along.
Graham said great segment. And Graham, I think a little spoiler, I think we're gonna do something like this tomorrow. I like this segment, Paul. Like we'll do our predictions of where these free agents can possibly land. Not just Giants or Broncos, but around the NFL. So we'll keep an eye out for that tomorrow.
Hmm
By the way, schedule change tomorrow. I should have mentioned at the top of the show. K&K Sports Show will be on tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, due to the New York Knicks game Wednesday night. So be sure to tune in for that. Gonna have some NBA predictions, NHL predictions, and some NFL talk. So look forward to that tomorrow. But all right, Paul. Like I said, we're moving along. Eddie Murphy's saying hello, and he's saying, "Guys, you're live during a Knicks game."
Eduardo, hello.
And and Eddie Murphy saying he will be another Galladay this time of his career. Talking about Keenan Allen, I think.
Keenan Allen. Nobody will be another Galladay like him.
uh, so, Paul, you want to get into our final segment? And if we finish a little early, we'll sign off a
Absolutely.
little early tonight to go watch
No
our beloved
problem.
Knicks. Uh, so we thought of this one. This one, everybody's doing post NFL draft talk, and the draft is now 2 weeks old. So, Paul and I came up with this idea of, what we had such a great draft, but why don't we go back in history and give you all our, you know, in our opinions, our top draft picks of all time in rounds 1 through 7, and then years ago they had was like 20 draft picks. So undrafted or past the 7th round as a bonus. Paul's going to do best offensive draft picks of all time for the Giants, and I'm going to do defensive players of all time. So do you want to go first, Paul? Or you want me to go first?
You go first, and then we'll do round one defense, offense, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So obviously round one, some people don't. Some people are haters. Some people are oblivious. Some people are blind to it. It's the best player in the history of football, in my opinion, on the defensive side at least, and that's Mr. Lawrence Taylor. And I'm just looking for my notes on him, and of course I lost them in the mix here. But out of North Carolina, they drafted him in 1981. And correct me if I'm wrong on anything, Paul, because I don't have my cheat sheet in front of me on
No
Taylor.
problem.
1981, I believe he had 142 career sacks. One of those years was the strike year that he played. So he had 142 years. I know he played with the Scabs, but he still uh, he still played that year. I remember that year, but just remember some stuff on Lawrence Taylor. Buddy Ryan put a bounty on the guy, and for those who don't know, go watch that film on when Taylor found out about the bounty. Just beat I forget who the lineman was on the Eagles, but sacked Jaworski twice. And you look at Buddy Ryan's face, it's like, what did I do? I just unleashed the monster here. And the guy was just played on a different level. And best player I'll ever see, I believe, on defense. I don't think I'll ever see another Lawrence Taylor. And for those who may be younger in the audience and never seen Lawrence Taylor, go watch his highlights. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I can say much more about him. Best ever, easy one there. The number one pick for the New York Giants on defense, Lawrence Taylor, University of North Carolina.
I think I can only put it best by Bill Belichick saying, "Don't ever compare anybody else to Lawrence Taylor." And you know what? Even his girlfriend Jennifer Hudson agrees with that statement.
Well,
I'm
what jersey are you wearing? Eddie wants to
I'm
know that.
wearing I'm wearing Michael Strahan's jersey tonight.
Close. I got Tuck. I got Justin Tuck.
Nice. Very nice.
We're
So,
gonna go to the offensive side.
yep. So in round one, uh, Giants have had a history of drafting actually very, very good offensive players. I'll just throw some names out: Rodney Hampton, Jeremy Shockey. Uh, I'll throw in yet last year Malik Neighbors, Andrew Thomas, OBJ, Saquon, and of course one of my favorite players of all time, Phil Simms. But the guy that I put as the all-time Giant number round one pick, Hall of Famer Frank Gifford, fantastic player, one of the all-time great Giants players of this organization and franchise. Just did everything. Ran the ball, received, uh, passed. I mean, the guy can do it all. He was the golden boy. Many people will remember him from the Monday Night Football when he went into broadcasting, but as a player, one of the great Giant players of all time. So he's my number one round one offensive player.
Yeah, I like it. I had a couple written down for you too, like a couple of supplemental picks: Phil Simms, Saquon Barkley, Jeremy Shockey. So those are
Nice.
some other ones I had there. So I'll move on to our second round, and we had some good second rounders, but I got to go with the guy who came a half a sack short of beating LT's 142 sack record. Controversial, but Michael Strahan, 1993 to 2007. Yep. And what happens when LT goes out? You got to find a replacement. And sometimes that's the hardest thing for a player. You know, uh, Derek Jeter on the Yankees. How you going to replace Derek Jeter? You know, how do you replace these guys when they leave? You know, Tom Brady. You know, Drake May's now the guy over there. So, you know, sometimes it hits, sometimes it misses. Well, it hit with Strahan, second round pick out of Texas Southern, and of course now he's all over the map. He's all over hosting Good Morning America. He's hosting NFL on Fox. But throughout his career, 854 tackles, 141 and a half sacks, seven Pro Bowls, Hall of Famer in 2014. Can't say enough good things about Strahan. Paul's wearing the jersey. The guy is, you know, what a steal out of a smaller school, nonetheless. Because I believe Paul didn't his father they were out in Germany, right? Was it
Yeah,
Germany?
his father was a military man for his whole career.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. So Texas Southern, small school, great fine Giants, Hall of Famer, solid, one of the best second round picks of all time, in my opinion.
Yep. I agree. Some of the other notable second round picks the Giants have had: Pepper Johnson, great linebacker; Corey Webster, of course, intercepted the pass against Brett Favre in the championship game; Landon Collins, uh, great defensive back; Jason Sehorn; Leonard Marshall, two-time Super Bowl winner; OC Umenora, another two-time Super Bowl. But the guy that I had coming up behind Michael Strahan, for me, one of the great linebackers the Giants ever had, was the original teammate of LT, was on that crunch bunch defense, Brad Van Pelt. Played on some very, very bad Giant teams, but just an excellent, excellent player.
You know what stood out about Brad Van Pelt? He wore number 10, and I forget. Somebody had
Mm-hmm.
told us in the past why he wore number 10, and I forgot the story.
I think it was because they used him as they he would be like the third string punter or the
Yes,
second string punter.
kicker or punter, yeah. So he got to wear
Right,
number 10, which was wild because now you can wear any number, but you know, numbers are more flexible now. But he was the only one who wore like a low number back in
right.
the day, and it was really stood out. It definitely
Yeah.
stood out. Uh, all right, Paul, your second round offensive player.
All right. Just like the second round on defense, the Giants have had a tremendous number of very, very good franchise players in the second round of the draft. Just to mention some names: Jumbo Elliott, tremendous left tackle; a couple of Super Bowl wins with the Giants. Steve Smith, one of my personal favorites, was a rookie on the 2007 Super Bowl team. Another all-time favorite, Sterling Shepard, last few years with the Giants. Joe Morris, fantastic running back with the 1986 team. Chris Snee, who was on two Super Bowl wins and was part of the Ring of Honor for the Giants. Of course, he was married to Tom Coughlin's daughter. But these two guys drafted in the second round were sort of the gold standard of second round picks for the Giants. Both of them were so good in each of their careers that I felt I just had to give them a tie and put both of them in as the second round pick. Of course, the fantastic all time Giant rushing leader, Tiki Barber, and Amani Toomer, the all time receiving leader. Both these guys were fantastic in their careers with the New York Giants. Of course, uh, Toomer was on the 2007 Super Bowl winning team against the Patriots, and both of them were, in their own right, leaders and great players with the Giants, and almost basically overlapped their careers together.
Yeah, another good pick there. Graham's given us a fun fact that Broncos used to have a backup quarterback named Bradley Van Pelt in the early 2000s.
That was his son.
That was his son?
Yes.
Nice. I figured that could have been. Yeah, that's awesome. So that's funny that they didn't name him the second, you know. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but thanks for that, Graham. Third round, I'm going to move on, Paul, and it's the guy's
Yes, sir.
jersey I'm wearing, and your favorite football team in college, Notre Dame, and the Giants found a good one in Justin Tuck in the third round, and similar to this year with picking Abdul Carter, the Giants already were loaded at edge rusher. So what did they do? They formed with Steve Spagnuolo, now the Chiefs coordinator, what they called the NASCAR package, and where they had Strahan, Tuck, and Umenyiora in at the same time. And, it was really hard for quarterbacks and offensive lines to block all three of those guys. And that's why I'm very excited about this year. But Justin Tuck, underrated, I think, when you talk about Giants edge rushers. You think of the LTs, you think of the Carl Banks, you think of
Hmm.
the Strahans and Umenyoras that we talked about. Justin Tuck's not mentioned up there with those guys too much, but he should be, in my opinion. Very underrated. And if he was on a different team, I think he would have even a better career because I think sacks were taken away from this guy because of
Hmm.
the depth on the team.
Yeah. No, that's a great point, Kenny. The fact is that they drafted him in 2005, and it really wasn't until 2007, because of the depth of the Giants' defensive line, that they really didn't start utilizing him. And the way they used him, like you just said with Coach Spags, is they moved him inside. So you had OC on one end, Michael Strahan on the other, and they had Tuck in the middle. It's a pretty powerful line to try and stop. And as we saw in Super Bowl 42, they didn't stop them too often that game.
And our good friend Ernie out there in California, big Bronco fan, hanging out with us for a little bit, and he's right. He say the Broncos, and this goes for our Giants too, have over 200 football players that are my greatest Broncos. So yeah, there's about 200 that are my greatest Giants as well. Ernie's a big follower of all our shows. We appreciate you, Ernie.
Thank you. I'll just mention one other third round pick. Obviously, I'm a lot older than some of you guys. And back in the 70s, the Giants were awful, probably worse than they are the last few years, if that could be believed. But Giants had a player in the middle of their line, John Mendenhall, number 64. Go back and look at some of the film or the videos. The guy was a monster. Let me just put it this way. He would have been the kind of player Bill Parcells would have loved. And similar build to, I'll tell you another guy who he was built like, Jim Burt. Ironically, also wore number 64. That kind of squatty type of player, but like Jim Burt, all over the field. Just a great, great player in a time when the Giants did not have a good team and not too many good players, but he stood out.
Yep. Uh, so back to you, Paul, for your third.
Okay. Round three. Giants have also had pretty good success with round three. They've had a couple of good offensive linemen, Roman Oben, Bob Cratch, uh, excuse me, Graham, one of your longtime receivers, Ed McCaffrey, of course, daddy of Christian. And uh, Giants drafted this guy. People know him now as the Lions head coach, but Dan Campbell was a third round pick of the Giants, and of course Mario Manningham, who had an unbelievable catch and a pretty good career with the Giants in the Super Bowl. But my top pick is Kenny's one of Kenny's favorite players, if not the favorite player, is Stephen Baker, the touchdown maker. Fantastic little receiver. Uh, he always tells the story. Darryl Green compliments him all the time. And of course, caught a touchdown from the second guy that I had in the third round, Jeff Hofstetler, in Super Bowl 25. So just a great Giant, uh, just small but fast and elusive. and he had a great career with the Giants.
Yeah, and three draft picks that year were receivers. First round was Mark Ingram, third round was Stephen Baker, and fourth round was Odessa Turner. So the Giants went running receiver, receiver, receiver.
Hmm.
And unfortunately for Stephen Baker, and I remember this story when he came on our show, Mike Pope was the tight ends coach. And Mike Pope told him, Stephen, we saw him years, it sees him at the reunions when they go to the alumni games, the alumni show up for games. And Mike Pope ran into Stephen Baker a couple of years ago and said, man, Bake, and I remember this. He goes, "You were just ahead of your time. If you were in today's NFL, you would be Tyreek Hill. You were Tyreek Hill of the '80s." And I was just looking at his stats. He played from '87 to '92, so he didn't play too long in the NFL, but almost full seasons every year. But averaged 21 yards a reception. So he was the deep threat, and there wasn't many receivers like that. Small receiver, deep threat back in that style of football wasn't existing much, and especially on the Giants offense, it didn't
No.
exist much back then. So he was ahead of his time, unfortunately, but still a good career, and a great player, even a better person. The time he spent with us, and just he was like one of the guys. So thank you, Stephen Baker, again for spending time with us on our Giants podcast. And hey, we've got to try and get you on again sometime. Uh, but anyway, so ahead of his time, Mike Pope, great tight end coach for the Giants, said that to him. Uh, so we're going to move on to the fourth round, Paul. Fourth round, I got the another Hall of Famer, created the Gatorade dunk, Mr. Bill Parcells in the Super Bowl. And that's Mr. Harry Carson, 53 himself. And, you talk about the guys that get down and dirty. The stats may not look impressive, but, played 13 seasons with the Giants, 11 interceptions, played 173 games from 76 to 88. But again, like the calling the defense and being the anchor in there with Reasons next to him or Pepper Johnson next to him, with LT, with Banks, Brian Kelly, Brad Van Pelt, the linebackers that the Giants had, and he was the foundation, I would say. He was the leader of that bunch, and people looked up to him, and he was a true captain. And amazing find in the fourth round in 1976.
Um, I'll just say something quick about Harry Carson. The respect that Bill Parcells and the Giant organization had in the 1986 Super Bowl, the Super Bowl 21 against the Broncos. The Broncos, I think, had 4 or 5 captains go out. Who represented the Giants? The only captain that went out was Harry Carson. I think that says it all about
Yeah.
who the Giants and how they felt about Harry Carson.
Yes. All right,
Um,
back to you for your offensive fourth round.
yeah, I just want to mention 2 other quick players.
Sure.
Gary Reasons was
Hmm.
also a 4th round selection by the Giants. The Bronco people might remember Gary Reasons' big hit in the snow in that
Yes.
game in Denver a number of years
Bobby
ago.
Humphrey. Bobby Humphrey was the running back.
Bobby Humphrey, right? And a guy that played with Strahan for a number of years, uh, sort of like a poor man's Dexter Lawrence, but just a very, very good player in his own right. Keith Hamilton, the Hammer, was a really, really underrated player. Again, played with some bad Giant teams, but again, with Strahan, was a very big force in the middle of the Giant defense on that defensive line.
Yeah.
All right, 4th round. This was a hard decision. We had 2 of the all-time great Giants drafted in the 4th round. Uh, the other player I'll mention, Zach Diassi, was a longtime Giant, played a number of games as long snapper, was drafted as a linebacker, but mostly was a long snapper. Very good one, great in punt coverage. But the 2 guys that the Giants drafted in the 4th round, both are in their Ring of Honor. Tremendous players. My top 4th round pick the great Mark Bavaro, and right below him is Brandon Jacobs, another all-time New York Giants player. But Mark Bavaro, what you can say about him? Uh, Everybody's seen that tremendous Monday night play where he drags half the 49er team 20 yards down the field, and Ronnie Lott's hanging on for dear life. But the guy is just as Bill Parcells called him, a stone face. But the guy just was all world, and just an amazing uh, player for the Giants.
Yeah, great. And if I flipped the coin 10 times, I'd probably be five for Jacobs, five for Bavaro. They were so close, but I think we'd trade up and do two fourth round picks there. So allow you to talk about
Yeah.
Brandon Jacobs if you'd like for a second.
What can you say? I mean, Brandon Jacobs was actually with Tiki was the sort of original Thunder and Lightning. I mean, the guy was 6'4", 265 pounds, just a tremendous athlete. Was a running back. Obviously, there were linemen that he was bigger than, but once he got a full head of steam, Charles Woodson on the first play of that 2007 championship game, he hit him in minus 24-degree weather. I think Charles Woodson is still feeling it to this day, but his having him and Ahmad Bradshaw back there for a number of years, they balanced each other out. He was just incredible, Brandon Jacobs, and it was just an amazing sight to see him get a full head of steam at that size and outrun a lot of the smaller defensive backs.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna move on to the fifth round. Fifth round getting a little harder now. The Giants' history, hopefully Marcus Bowe can become the best one.
Yeah.
I hope all our draft picks become the best ones. So Marcus Bowe maybe has a chance to be the best one if he can get into that starting line. But on the defensive side, I got a guy who played with the Giants from 97 to 2001, was drafted in 97. And then to end his career, he went to the Jets for a couple years. And that's Sam Garnes. Sam Garnes, uh, I remember a little bit about him. He was a solid player. Jumped into that starting role. Was the anchor, the back end there for the secondary. Probably in our Super Bowl team there that we lost to the Ravens. He was on our Giants defense there. But 10 interceptions. He had one interception as a return, but when I remember Sam Garnes, like I said, solid, would hit you, and a nice find in the fifth round for sure for those few years he played with the Giants.
Hmm. Right. Good recognition of Sam Garnes. He was a solid player in those years. Um, I just had a couple of others. Jabril Wilson was a starting safety for the Giants in 2007 when they won the Super Bowl, and actually current Giant Michael McFadden, who maybe it's a little early to put him up there, but as Kenny said, we don't have too many good defensive fifth round picks, so I threw his name in there.
Yep. Uh, Britt Graham saying Brandon Jacobs proved he could do it. Why not Jamarcus Russell? He's saying Jamarcus Russell should have transitioned to a running back.
Yeah, well, that's a story for another day.
Yep.
Fifth round offense. Giants have had a few good players. Kevin Boss was a rookie in 2007, played a few years with the Giants. Darius Slayton currently has been with the Giants, underrated receiver. They re-signed him. Uh, I had, because of his long time, 10 years, 11 years with the Giants, offensive lineman, played all over the line. David Deal was played left tackle, right tackle, both guard positions. He probably even played center in a pinch. And one of those lunch pail guys that was just exceptional as an offensive lineman, solid, protected Eli very well. So I had Deal. The other guy in the fifth round, many of you may remember Dave Meggett, who was an incredible scat back, uh, third down back, had a big role in the Super Bowl 25, played well behind O.J. Anderson. Anything else you want to add to the offense, Kenny?
I think we're good. You think you nailed it. So I'm looking at the time. We're doing great on time, so that's good.
Great.
Sixth round. I'm not going to take too much time. I had to do some heavy searching to find somebody, but I found somebody I'd like to mention that never gets mentioned for the Giants. It was during a couple of I think our Ray Handley year, '92. They drafted him. That's Stacy Dillard, little defensive tackle, uh, 4-year player for the Giants from '92 to '95. Uh, he was 6'5", 290. And I just think, that whole Ray Handley probably screwed him up because he probably could have been a pretty good player at that size back then. But 5.5 sacks, 78 solo tackles, 59 games he played for the Giants. Uh, I know you got a couple guys listed that I could have put down there, but you know, I bet you didn't think you were going to hear Stacy Dillard's name mentioned on a New York Giants podcast tonight when you all tuned in. So we'll get some of our old time Giants recognition here and there. So why not Stacy Dillard? Take it. That was my reach. I reached for him. I taking a shot here in the sixth round.
I had two linebackers that actually had pretty long careers with the Giants. Tahani Jones played linebacker starting 2000 for about 10 years, and then Corey Miller from the early 90s played about 8 years with the Giants. So those were my two players, 6th round picks for recognition for the Giants on
And
this draft.
and it looks like in our history it's been a bad draft pick in the sixth round. So guess what? We didn't have any sixth round draft picks this year. So nobody has to worry about being a bust on the Giants in the
Yeah.
sixth round because we didn't have one this year. Another reason, A+ draft. Let's go.
All right, 6th round for offense. We had some pretty significant players. A couple of long-time offensive linemen. Doug Riesenberg was a Super Bowl winner. Uh, again, as an old-time Giant fan, Greg Larson was a center from the early '60s that I saw at the end of his career. Uh, a player that I loved, and I always thought he was a very good fullback, Charles Way, who's now working with the Giants at coaching staff and administration. And then the two guys I had on top, uh, long time Giant player, tight end. Now he broadcasts some of the games, especially during the preseason. Howard Cross, 14-year veteran of the Giants, played only with the Giants and no other team. And of course, round 6, the Giants picked a guy by the name of David Tyree. You may have heard of him. You may have seen his catch in the Super Bowl 42 once or twice. But again, two great former Giants that Giants got steals when they drafted these two gentlemen in the 6th round.
Yeah, I love it, love it. And speaking of steals, Carson. Well, no, not speaking of steals. Carson saying hello.
Hey, Carson.
Carson, check out Carson's Shear Show, everybody. NBA playoffs, NHL, Detroit sports, does it all. YouTube Shorts, Carson Shear Show. Don't. Uh, we're not going to have Carson tomorrow, unfortunately. He's got another thing going on tomorrow that he can't join us on Tuesday. So you will be missed, my friend. My 7th round pick for the Giants. What a steal. And when you talk underrated and finds, this guy was a find. And that's Mr. Perry Williams, Paul. When you talk about the Giants' defenses, 86, you talk LT, Banks. I could probably name 6 to 7 guys before I'm mentioning Perry Williams' name.
Mm-hmm.
That's how deep that defense was. Perry Williams played 146 games for the Giants. 8 out of his 10 years, he played all 16 games. The other 2, 12 and 14. When you talk about like Iron Man, we talk about Eli Manning playing all those consecutive games, but this has to be maybe I have to go back and look if anybody had like that kind of career for the Giants on defense where he played all the time, so defensive Iron Man might go, the award might go to Perry Williams. But 18 interceptions. Again, I remember Mark Collins, he was the other guy on the other side. The linebackers, of course, Harry Carson, Gary Reasons. But Perry Williams was a lockdown corner, and edge rushers and linebackers, LT, Banks, and Leonard Marshall, they get to the quarterback. Easy job for Perry Williams and Mark Collins in the secondary. So, but what a find in the seventh round, Paul. When you talk about Giants and underrated, I
Hmm.
think Perry Williams has to be up there on the top of underrated Giants of all time.
I agree. I was going to use that word for his career. It's he's hardly ever in the talk as best defensive backs in Giant history, but given that history that he has, fantastic job that you did with that, and
And
he's got to be up there. He really
and
does.
I think he played his whole career with the Giants, if I'm not
I,
mistaken. Yes, he did. And like I said, 16 games, 8 out of 10, 10 and 14. The other, I said
yeah.
12. It's 10 and 14. Defensive Iron Man. I've got to go back and look to see if I could find somebody that comes close to that. So
Hmm.
impressive, underrated for sure. Great steal,
Yep.
seventh round Giants.
And he was playing for I think two pretty fair coaches, Bill Parcells
Yeah.
and obviously defensive coordinator Bill Belichick. So hey, he had to be doing something right.
Yep. All right. So we
Um,
got your seventh round pick and then our bonus, which is undrafted or after the seventh round.
okay. Um, this was pretty easy. Guy that became one of the all-time favorite Giant players, a steal. You talk about a steal. Uh, as a rookie, he raced for an 85-yard touchdown against Buffalo to seal the Giants' playoff uh, playoff. What do I want to say? The a
Clinch,
game
playoff
a
clinch.
clinching, yeah, playoff clinching win to get into the playoffs, which of course led to the Super Bowl run in 2007. Tremendous contributor. Everybody remembers the touchdown he scored in Super Bowl 46, where he doesn't know whether to score it or. And I also remember the 2000 uh, Christmas Day game against the Jets, where he literally ran over the defensive back on the Jets to score the touchdown, uh, punctuating the Jets' loss to the Giants on Christmas Eve that day. Ahmad Bradshaw, you can't say enough good things about who this guy was. It was a total steal from Marshall to get him.
Yeah, amazing, amazing find. Uh, Again, the seventh round pick, so a lot better than the sixth round, and that's pretty wild because we just named two really good uh, seventh round picks
Hmm.
in Bradshaw and on the defensive side Perry Williams. All right, Paul, I'm going to give you my undrafted or just you know not too long ago, the NFL had more than 7 rounds.
Yeah,
So I have an eighth round pick of the Giants, my favorite college team, Mr. Jesse Armstead. 176 games with the Giants, 40 sacks. I think he invented the tweener guy. 6'1", 237. When before he came along, you did not hear about many linebackers with that size, and I think that's why the Giants took a chance with him in the eighth round, as opposed to taking him in the earlier rounds, and that's why he was passed up by a lot of teams was his size,
yeah.
but created that role. And I know he's one of your favorite Giants of all time, Paul. So I'm just going to hand it off to you to speak to him because I'm looking at the time and we're almost up on the
Yeah,
clock. So
yeah, I'll just say quickly, if you ask me, top five Giant favorite players of all time, he's right on that list. Just an unbelievable player. He was Robin to Michael Strahan's Batman during those years. Just a fantastic player. Again, nowadays that sized linebacker would be drafted probably in the first or second round, but back then it was 6'3", 6'4", 250-pound linebackers. But again, you can't measure someone's heart, and what Jesse Armstead did, and he was actually a fantastic player at the University of Miami, who at that time had some unbelievable teams. So it wasn't like he was playing at a Division III school. Obviously, just an incredible player.
Keith's got a question before we get to yours,
Hey,
Paul.
Keith.
What's up, Keith? Keith, my co-host on Denver Bronco Roundup Tuesday nights and Friday nights. I always get the Friday night mixed up when I do an extra podcast. It's funny, Paul. It's like, oh, Denver Bronco Roundup tomorrow. And
Right.
it's like when I'm doing Kurt's Bronco show, and it's actually Friday. But check us out tomorrow. We're going to have a similar type of show. We're doing the draft picks with the Broncos tomorrow, Paul, but in a different style than we did with ours. Uh,
Okay.
we're doing overall. We're going to have the chat and audience play along and tell us whose draft they like best, as we were doing offense and defense. But he wants to know, and I'll answer first, Paul, and give you a chance to think.
Okay.
Hey, gentlemen, do you have a best player drafted by the Giants, but is best known for a career on another team? I'm going to go first because I have one, and technically he was a Giant, but his career is known for another team. This way, Paul can have a chance to really think of one. Might be cheating, but Philip Rivers was technically drafted by the Giants
Yeah.
for Eli, and then the trade went. So is that cheating, Keith, or do you want somebody? Because I really have to go back and think, and you might give me some homework that I'll have to do for next week's show. To
I
think
have
of.
I have actually a player
Okay.
who actually Keith knows very well. Ed McCaffrey. I mentioned his
Yeah.
name.
Yeah.
Ed McCaffrey. For some reason, the Giants didn't play him. They had him. He was a big, tall, rangy receiver. They didn't play him for whatever reason. Great hands, and went to Denver and became a star with the Broncos. So great for the Broncos and McCaffrey.
Yeah. Well, we might in a few years say Saquon Barkley, but let's hope they don't win any more Super Bowls.
Yeah, really.
So, but we're good. We did our draft. Enough about Saquon Barkley, but great question there, Keith. I don't know if Philip Rivers is cheating. If it is, I'll do some homework. I like the Ed McCaffrey one. That would be one off the top of my head. Maybe for Keith, we'll come up with a couple more names of players
Yeah,
that
that's
played
a good
for other teams.
question.
That's a good one we can do next week. Uh, but yeah.
I
So
actually I have another one.
go
This is
ahead.
an old time Giant. Quickly, just popped into my head. The Giants drafted Fred Dryer, defensive end, and he played with the Giants about 2 or 3 years. Was very good, and he decided he didn't want to be with the Giants anymore. They had a losing organization back in the late '60s and early '70s, and I believe they traded him to New England, and then New England traded him to the Rams, and he became an incredible player with the Rams, especially. And he actually went on to have a Hollywood career in
Oh
TV
yeah,
and film.
there was
Fred
a.
Dryer.
Yep, I remember him. He was on some kind of law show, I think.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
forget the show.
Yep. Funny. Funny. It's funny, some of these NFL players. Merlin Olsen comes to mind as another
Right,
actor back in Little House on the Prairie. He played. He was
right.
fun. It was fun. Uh, and our other horseman, I'll do this question real quick. Where does Dan Reeves rank on all-time Giant greats, Paul? From Jody, another horseman.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. Obviously, coached both of our teams. Um, his first year, the Giants were great. They made the playoffs. They fell off a little bit after that. I always liked him. I mean, hell, I'm like I say, I always say I'm old enough. I remember Dan Reeves as a player with the Cowboys, and very good, tough running back, uh, tough yardage. But he didn't have a long coaching career with the Giants, and again, it was sort of right in the middle of Sims retiring, and it was a little awkward time. I think he got stuck with Dave Brown, and that whole situation. So unfortunately, he came in at a not great time in franchise history.
Yeah, I agree. And there's Keith saying, wow, Fred Dryer, I knew him from the Rams, and a TV show was Hunter. That was the name of the
Hunter,
TV show.
that's it.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you.
Thanks, Keith.
All right, Paul. So you're undrafted or later round after seventh round
Yeah, I mean
offensive drafting?
the Giants have drafted interesting players. I'll throw out a couple of names. There was, as Kenny mentioned earlier, there were 20 picks the year, and the Giants drafted in 1963 a big receiver, also from I think it was Texas Southern at the time, Homer Jones, who was incredible. I mean, the guy was like 6'3", 225 pounds, but was one of the fastest players in the NFL with that size. And I think his average, he might be he might have the highest average yardage per season in the NFL history. I think over 20, 21 yards, 22 yards, still to this day. They also drafted a guy in the late 50s who actually played with the Giants a couple of years, but decided to try the AFL. And he went to the Jets, and it became not just a good receiver, but a Hall of Famer. Don Maynard was one of Joe Namath's best receivers with the Jets and had a long career with them. But the player that the Giants drafted in the the early 50s, I think it was the 27th round, Roosevelt Brown, became not just the Hall of Fame, but one of the great Giant offensive linemen in Giants history. 27th round, could you imagine? And I think he went to Morgan State, and back then, obviously, there was no coverage the way they have it now. So these guys were scouted looking through papers and looking through magazines, and the Giants picked this guy, and he turned into one of the great Giant players of all time.
Keith, Jody, Trevor, and Paul. Could you imagine doing a 27 round pick is in draft show?
Right.
God, we'll be taking nap breaks.
Of course, there were a lot less teams in the NFL
Yeah,
back then,
yeah, that's a true good point.
but
Speaking of NFL draft, while Keith is here and Jody's here, I'm going to throw this out there. Paul told me today, and Kirk did as well. The NFL draft in 2027 will be announced by the President of the United States that it will be in Washington, D.C. My neck of the woods, gentlemen. Draft party. Got almost 2 years to plan it.
yep,
Let's make it happen. It'll be year 4 of
absolutely.
the draft show live from a hotel lobby. Thousands of people in attendance. Let's make it happen,
We
fellas.
got to do it.
Let's have our huge meet and greet with our fans and everybody. I think we can make it happen. So
Listen, Kenny, if I could just say, after you said that, I think it's going to be huge, huge, huge show. You guys are great.
we
Huge
might even
show.
we might even have to invite somebody from the White House on our show.
Huge idea.
Anyway, so Paul, great job with the draft picks.
You
It was
too.
fun to do
You
that.
too. Great idea.
Some games. Quick question: with our Abdul Carter, Jackson Dart, uh, third round one, Darius Alexander, Scatterboo, Bo, and then our seventh round picks. If you had to pick one from this year, who can be on that list of mentioning? Who would be a top choice? Who would have the best chance of being mentioned? Now I look at it, first round's hard because there's so many good first rounders.
Yeah.
And I'm looking back at my list here, on so you have one that you think can make that top 3 list for you?
I think so.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say Bo. I think given the fifth round, not too many steals in the fifth round based on what we saw, but I think Marcus Bo could be right up there if he has hopefully the career that we want him to have.
I like it. I like it. I'm looking at possibly Darius Alexander. I know Justin Tuck was my top guy on defense. And when I
Yeah,
looked at my other guys, I had LT, Strahan, Harry Carson. I think, not taking away anything from Justin Tuck, but to beat those three guys that I just mentioned, I think it might be easier to beat Justin Tuck as opposed to
right.
that. I'll say Darius Alexander.
Okay. Good pick. Good pick.
Let's hope. Let's hope they all become top three mentioned in a
Yeah,
few years.
I
But
agree.
give you the final words tonight, my friend. I just want to thank some people: Keith, Jody, Carson, Ernie, Jay Cook, Mark Calderio, Jimmy Eiserman, Graham. I know the Knicks are on. We went up against the Knicks tonight, but it was nice having some Giant fans in here with us because a lot of Giant fans are Knick fans, so they are probably watching the game. So thank you guys for tuning in with us, and we'll see everybody next week. Final word goes to Paul.
Thank you, Kenny.
Words go.
We couldn't do this without the wonderful uh, comments, questions by our amazing audience. So thank you, each and every one of guys who decided to stick with us tonight for the hour rather than do something else. And we really, truly appreciate that. So great show as usual, Kenny. Thank you again, sir. Always a pleasure.
And update: Knicks are down 16 at half, so we didn't miss much.
Mm, okay.
Have a good night, everybody. We'll see everyone next Monday.
Good night.